Nike shares are hitting the ground running this morning after easing concerns about a slowdown in China, and they also saw inventories fall back 10% compared to a year ago during its fiscal first quarter. For more on this, we want to bring in Josh Schaefer. And Josh, taking a look at the move pre-market here, up 10%. The street pretty pleased with this.
Yeah, Sean, the street was definitely pleased. And I mean, there were some easy beats you saw just in the results as far as what was pushing Nike stock forward ahead of the call yesterday. You saw a beat just simply on EPS. And then you also saw a gross margin beat. And you saw Nike perform well in certain areas abroad, while North American sales actually came in a little bit lower than expected. But getting into some of the key numbers here that I think is why you're seeing basically a 10% jump in Nike shares before we see the market open today, you had a gross margin beat. That's been a closely followed metric for Nike, and for that to come in higher than expected is a big deal. Then you take a look at inventories. We've been following inventories at Nike for basically several years now because they've had an issue there. Inventories down 10%, so they're sort of past that. And then I was closely tracking the stock's movement during the call yesterday, and it was interesting to see where we really saw those big legs up. One of those moments was when Nike CFO Matthew Friend started talking about the consumer. He said, "We continue to see consumer demand for our brands and for our products to be very, very strong. The consumer is proving to be resilient." That was the biggest takeaway for me from this Nike call. You had the stock down about 25% coming into the report. There had been a lot of worries about, is the consumer slowing down? Is there going to be problems in China? And Nike came out and flat out said, not for us. Maybe there's a consumer slowdown happening, but we're not guiding down for the holiday quarter. We feel good about where things are at. Nike COO mentioning that he had been in China over the last twice over the last 4 months. He feels confident about what's going on in China, no matter what happens with the macro. He feels like people are still going to be buying sporting goods. Nike's still going to be able to succeed there. And they even mentioned that Foot Locker sales are falling, but guess what? A single retailer only accounts for about mid-single digit sales for Nike. They sort of diversified that wholesale group, maybe a little bit more than some on the street had expected. A lot of people have been watching declining sales at Foot Locker and saying that might weigh on Nike. Nike also saying that headwind might not be as big as people thought either. And we're starting to see, of course, the stock pop a little bit before we open the bell today.